Alright, oops. I was at City Hall getting a water bill to go to the dump, and I'm not thinking I'm going to have a good day because it is hot and the dump stinks. But look what's right there. A shiny, shiny penny. So maybe I'll be first in line at the dump. Oh, that's got to go. Hey, it's Janie at the League-Kempner House. I'm at the dump, or the transit station as we call it. My husband wanted to come down and work today. I wanted to rest, but since I rode with him, I have the truck, so I might as well do this. Oops, gotta go. Okay, so in the truck we have his window cleaning station because he's a fanatic about his windows, and he's not gonna be happy with me because this happened. But I have my hard hat, my Gatorade, and my vest, so I'm gonna get out and unload. Okay, not as horrible as it could have been. There was actually a breeze. The stench was unbearable, but I didn't really have to wait in line, and that can be sometimes an hour or two, which in the summer is brutal. Now I just have to go get weighed, and I'm sure I don't have to pay a bill because with your water bill you get a free dump once a month, and that was not very much weight, so I should be good to go. Now I just have to run to Home Depot and get some keys made and go get my hubby lunch. I did not get a lot of footage this day. Actually, I didn't get any footage this day. It was not exciting. It was me picking up trash, and my husband doesn't really like to be on film. He will if there's something I really want to show, but he was just blocking in the shower in the bathroom so that there would be something to nail up the shower pan liner to. So it was not an exciting day. But we did get a lot done, which is always good. Then it was back to our regular schedule on Wednesday, and we had a great surprise. It was raining, and the retention area swale was full. So by the time I got there, there had been a lot of rain, and we really needed it because our grass was getting kind of brown and crunchy. It needed a good soak. It's been a very dry summer down in Galveston. But Ricardo and crew were here, so I took a little bit of a look around to see how things were going with the yard and the drainage, and it wasn't a true test of the system because you can tell it's a slow and steady rain. We've always been able to handle slow and steady. It's that deluge of rain, that really fast rate of rain that gets it. But it was nice to see everything working. That's a lot of water in that swale area, so I was happy to see that. But I wanted to go inside and check and see what Ricardo and crew were doing today. Ricardo was actually inside having a little bit of a think about how to proceed for the day. The rain was starting to let up, and they have a ton of bricks in the van and in the truck that they need to unload. So they decided to go ahead and set up a tent and back the van up a little bit closer to the garage where they're going to unload the bricks and just go ahead and get it done. It's a little bit precarious, and actually that other board over there is one of my floor joists that I put epoxy on that needs to go inside, but they grabbed what they had and they don't want to sink into this sand. That brick is so heavy in the van, and this is for a project we're going to actually do here right at the garage apron. You saw us when the excavator was in, pick up all that broken concrete, clear everything out, and get this graded and get some sand put down. And now we need to do something semi-permanent in this location. So the bride that's getting married here in March, I had committed to her that I would take the money for the rental and do something in the yard for the wedding. It wouldn't be specifically for the wedding, it would be something that was usable for the house also, but that I would kind of look around and see how to best spend that money in a way that makes their wedding day a little better. And since they're getting married in the garage and they have a lot of people attending, chairs need to spill out of the garage and up the driveway, and if it rained on their wedding day, it would be a muddy mess like this. It would not be workable. Even if it was sunny for the next couple of days, this would still be a mud pit. So we've decided to lay brick because it's not permanent. We still have to get our sprinkler system in, the fire suppression system in the house, and our water line runs through here, and they have to dig down and put a 6-inch tap in that line for our sprinkler system. And it's going to be, you'll see later in the layout, kind of at the edge of what we're doing here. So we don't have to take everything up, but we will have to take a little bit of it up. So we don't want to pour concrete. We also haven't decided about our permanent hardscaping in the yard where we need sidewalks and how everything's going to work. So brick is a good alternative because it's reusable. We can pick it up, put it back down. And Makeover got an incredible deal on this brick. We usually pay somewhere between $1 and $2 for antique brick. This is not antique, it's modern brick, which is actually better for us because it's all clay and it's hard fired, so it's a lot more durable and tough if cars and things end up backing over this. But she got this for 20 cents a piece, which is just a steal, and so it's very cost effective. It's going to be more labor than it is material to get this down, but it's still going to end up being very, very cost effective. And they had a color that I was happy with. I think it will blend nicely between the concrete and that other red flagstone that we have. So step one, though, is to get it out of the van and onto the ground. I'm going to get on the back side and show you. They have this down to an art. It's like the old bucket brigade. Just toss. And if you go back and look at our old videos when they did the porch, they were doing this from floor up to the top of the porch, just throwing them up and creating stacks for Juan to work as he rebuilt the porch for us. So rain or no rain, we're going to get it done today. And then this will probably take today, tomorrow. There's more work to be done in the basement. That board right there under the truck wheel is actually our joist that needs to go under the parlor floor that was left out. They're temporarily using it to keep from sinking in the mud. So they'll do that. A little more work in the basement. And then Friday, we're going to attempt to start the removal of the kitchen floor. So it's been a lot. Like I said, I'm tired. I forgot why I even brought you over here. I brought you over here to show you what I have to think about. I have to think about how the bricks go here and the slope and the water drainage and how we want this to work, because it needs to work in conjunction with everything we've been doing over here and everything we've been doing over here. So I need to, and it's actually good that it rains, so I need to sit and just kind of rationally think about this and think about the effect of putting the brick down on the water flows. The weather improved, and fortunately they were able to start work on this project. There's a lot more to it than just slapping bricks down on the ground. So the first thing to do is to prepare the whole site. And as I mentioned, we had to worry about drainage and how this is going to sit, because we have a chance to slope and shape the ground underneath the bricks, and that will cause water to flow in different directions depending on how we did that. So they're doing a little cleanup, and I kind of worked on a plan for how I wanted the final results to be. So just to recap, this is our survey map. That red oblong circle is kind of our retention pond swale that goes out to the street. So that's ultimately a path for water to get off the property. The blue arrows are all that excavation that we just did that moved the water from that whole back half of the yard towards the back and then towards the east, because there's a low spot going out towards a gate that we have in that wall there. So that's another path for water to escape. And if we have all the water going that direction, it's no longer coming back towards the house, which is what it was doing before. And we're trying to protect that bright green circle there. That's that U-shaped area where all the water comes and where we get the flooding in the basement. So we've been working hard to move water away from that space and get it to the 2 exit points that we have in the yard. Now we're about to add the purple square there, and that will be where they're laying the brick in front of the garage. So it's not going to create a lot of runoff, but the runoff that it does create, we'd like it to move over towards the swale into that flower bed there so that it doesn't come back to the house. It can also kind of act as a little bit of a dam, that if we ever have so much water in the yard that we don't get any backflow from that backyard up towards the house. So once we had decided how we wanted it kind of laid out and where we wanted the water to go, then these guys can sculpt the ground underneath and get everything prepared to lay the bricks. So unfortunately, it required a lot of dirt removal. The other thing that we want to do is for safety. We want the bricks to be level with the ground. We don't want them sticking up so you stub your toe. We would like it to be seamless with the yard and the driveway on the sides of it, so that it's not elevated in any way, so that we don't have any tripping hazards. So when they were doing the excavating, they scraped this area kind of flat, put a little bit of sand on top. We're going to have to move that out of the way and get a little bit of dirt out. You can kind of see the edge where they're cutting down to and trying to get everything somewhat smooth. So this was actually quite a long process, but once it was done and we were happy, then it's time to bring in more sand. So that may seem counterintuitive, but the kind of sand they need under the brick so that it can seat and be stable is a little bit different than the sand that was there. So this is a coarse grained construction sand, and they're going to put down a base of 2 to 3 inches over this whole area. So once the sand comes in, the sand's kind of fluffy. You have to compact it down because you want the base to be stable and hard. So they have this compacting machine that they bring in. It's heavy and it vibrates and it tamps the sand down. They also have hand tampers, but again, a lot of work preparing. This is where you kind of have to plan out ahead of time what your projects are going to be, and it's a little hard when you have to be prepared for weather, because Ricardo only has so much room in the van and the truck for equipment, and depending on what we're working on, he needs different things. So Maribel and I have to get together and kind of look at alternative things they can work on during the day to keep them busy for a whole day, and it's hard to keep 4 or 5 people busy for a whole day, and we have to have a plan for the day and then kind of a backup plan based on weather, what they can work on, so that they can bring the right tools and equipment. And some things take a lot of equipment. Now when they're working down here for long periods of time, like I've had them here for a couple of weeks, they'll leave a lot of things locked in the basement so they don't have to carry so much back and forth. But then it's always kind of a chore at the end to get everything picked up and home when they're done working. It can take a couple of trips, so a lot of thought and planning goes into that. But I would say they made short work of it, but it was very time consuming. I'm going to speed this up quite a bit, get to the next phase. but it's a process. So once all the sand was down, this is part of getting that slope right, getting everything kind of a rough level of where it needs to be. Then they framed it up. So we had to kind of work with the dimensions that we had, and we calculated this based on the number of bricks that we have. So we know how many square feet of bricks we have, and we needed to get a rough shape that would accommodate the number of bricks we have. We can always buy a few more if we decide to extend it, but I can't remember now how many we bought. But they just used some of the 2x4s and things we have on site to set up a frame. And then, you know, Ricardo, once he has all this set up, he's got to use his string level and get a line on everything. So I can tell already it's going to be way better than if we had done it ourselves. I would have just raked it and started throwing bricks down. But this is getting prepared a little bit different than you'll see us do in the greenhouse later on, because we also have to be prepared for heavy things to drive on this, because if we use this for event space, people are going to be backing trucks up and things to unload, and we want it to be pretty stable, like a driveway. But again, we're not doing it exactly the way you would if it were a long-term permanent driveway, because there is a high probability that some of this will have to be taken up and re-put down as we do other projects in the house. So this is somewhat of a compromise situation. With the frame up and all of the kind of leveling done, it was clear that they needed a little bit more sand. So it was off to get some more sand and finish filling in and doing the same prep on the rest of it. And then pretty soon it was time to get started with the brick. And then, of course, out of the clear blue sky, gale force winds whipped up and clouds rolled in, so we had to stop and do some weather prep in case Mother Nature decides to ruin our project. Once everything was done, they mixed up a little mortar and started laying bricks. And they're just putting the first course of bricks into cement to stabilize it, because, again, we don't want any tripping hazard here where the concrete from the garage pad transitions to our brick pad. Ricardo and I went round and round about this a little bit because he's trying to make everything level, and the edge of this garage is a little bit wonky, so we're going to have to start off wonky and then transition to smooth and level. You saw one having to pull some bricks up because they were straight, but it left some little toe tripping hazards, and I would be the one to hurt myself. So this is one of those things where you kind of have to be there and watch, because there are different ways to do things, and Ricardo's wonderful, but I'm a little particular too. So we actually work very well together. He does not mind. He's used to me. So this is the most tedious part, getting these two leading edges done. Once these were down, then it was much easier to continue on and lay the rest of the bricks. So while this was going on, the state showed up again to do some more palm tree testing. We have a couple of trees in the front that do not look good, so I notified them and they decided to do some testing. And then sure enough, one of them was diseased and we had to take it out later. And I did not get a lot of video of them finishing up the driveway. It's repetitious. It's a lot of bricks and just tapping them into place one by one and checking level. This went on for a couple of days, 2 or 3 days. Mateo snuck in during the weekend and put our gutter on. And then once the pad in front of the driveway was almost done, we switched attention back into that U-shaped area. So we have all of those pavers from the Fran Kelly estate. So we worked a little bit on our drain, and then we had a lot of discussion about how this should be done and the slope, because again, we've got our big gutter here coming into the drainage system, but if we have overflow, we want the correct slope to have everything slope down here to our kind of emergency secondary drain. So it was back to a lot of digging and sculpting and getting the lines laid correctly. All right, so this is kind of the important part, is getting this laid out correctly with the slope, because we want any extra water in this area that doesn't go in the catch basin to come down and go in our backup catch basin, which right now is collecting water from all this area over here, which someday will go to the front, but not right now. And we want it to be level enough to walk on, and we need a little bit of sand over the pipes to cushion the pipes, and then we need it to slope back up and tie in to our pad here, so we have a smooth walkway. So while they're doing that, I'm getting the shovel and taking the dirt that was dug out and filling all this in to slope it back level and join up with the grass. And we had them do the same thing over here. We embedded it into the driveway, so when we're done, we'll put our gravel back in here and have a smooth transition all the way around, so we won't have any drop-offs for people to break their ankles on. Oh my gosh, I went to give a tour. And look what happened. Look at that.
I know. That is just beautiful.
We can dig up some more of the mother-in-law tongue or iron plant or whatever and fill
Move it in there?
that
Okay.
area.
Good, because getting to those vines is tough.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And this will be shady too. It's actually a little cooler working over here. There's a patch that's too thick down
Inside
there,
fence or outside?
right there. That's kind of thick
Okay.
at the corner there. I've been digging that up, and I was gonna dig those out and spread them out.
Are they bulbs? Tubers? Whatever?
They're a tuber. You just pop them up. These are pretty thick too, but they're harder to get to. Yeah, the ones that are spread all down the driveway down there, I got it where we dug the hole there, and I just spread them out. They look better. These are so old, they've multiplied and kind of choked themselves. And plus that little patch gets some sun right there, and I thought we could put something blooming in that corner right there. That gets sun now that all the trees are dead and gone. So this project has gone so well. I'm thankful that we were able to do it. Again, it's one of those things that was not planned. It wasn't really, budgeted, but we have that little bit of extra money from the wedding venue rental, and Ricardo and crew work so fast that all of the other work I had budgeted for them to do, they got done a day or two early, so we have a little extra give in our budget, and this is going to make all the difference in the world to have a safe, dry path to walk on. It's one of those things, once it's done, we're going to scratch our heads and wonder why we didn't do it years ago. It has been such a problem area, but it has been a complicated area, and it has taken a long time to solve that water problem and make sure everything works right, and we couldn't really cover anything up until that was done. So we are very grateful to be where we are today in this process, and I can't wait to show you the final product. But I think I'm going to stop the video for today because we're still back in June, the end of June. There was so much work going on. It has been so intense, and it's about to start tapering off a little bit, and we will get caught up on our videos. I think I'll start next week and do kind of a little recap of where we are and show you some of the after. It's been so busy, I don't think I've had time to stop and really back up and show you the results of all the work that's been done so far. So be sure and subscribe and turn on your notifications so you can find out when new videos are posted. We work very hard to get them up every Sunday, so check back then. And don't forget, we have memberships available on YouTube for 99 cents a month and $1.99. At both levels, you get a Wednesday update video, kind of a contemporaneous look at what's going on, some behind the scenes, some interviews with our volunteers, just bits and bobs of things that don't show up in the regular videos. And then we try to do a live stream on Saturdays. We don't always make that. Saturdays can be a busy day for us, but for example, this week we missed the live because right at 1 o'clock we had 8 people come in for tours, which is great. So we just did an extra little update Saturday night over the day. So check that out. We appreciate all the support. Just watching these videos really helps us out. I can't say this enough. We appreciate everyone who follows us and subscribes and comes to visit us and sends such encouraging words of support in the comments. It keeps us going to know that we can save this house and share it with so many people that love history in these old houses the way that we do. So thanks again for watching. We are the League-Kempner House in Galveston, Texas, and we will see you back next Sunday with another video.